Hey everybody, Sean here from the Cinescape. Going to be reviewing the latest episode of Game of Thrones, episode 3, season 8, titled The Long Night. Before we get into the review, there's going to be a couple of other topics that I touch on, whether it's character deaths or some of the complaints that I've been seeing and hearing online with darkness and video quality, things like that. So I'm going to address a couple of those things, relay my viewing experiences to you at the same time. So with that, let's get right into the darkness complaint. I've been seeing a lot of people complaining I couldn't see what was going on. It was very grainy, pixelated, yada yada yada. I can only speak on my own viewing experience. I have watched the episode twice now. I did stream them as well. I didn't watch them on my TV. The first time, I can admit there were a couple scenes of pixelation with pitch black darkness, things like that. The second time around, I don't think I really had any problem whatsoever. Maybe it's just your individual screens or whatever you're looking at, but for me personally, I didn't find really any trouble watching the episode in terms of bad quality, things like that. With the darkness of the episode, I'm actually going to turn it around a little bit and let you know why I actually enjoyed that. I'm sure it was a little bit harder to see what was going on. Maybe some characters and faces were obstructed, things like that. But I always felt like the actual darkness itself was a character of sorts. It allowed for the mass horde of walkers to be quote unquote on screen without being on screen. It represented horror. It represented everything that the Night King stood for: death, winter, all those themes. And I really feel like the Dan and Dave and I forgot the actual director of the episode's name is Miguel Sapochnik, maybe. But I think the way that they shot this episode and really utilized the darkness, I personally think was very well done. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments section, but that's just my take on it. So with that, we're going to get into the episode here. There was a lot going on. This was a 82-minute episode, I believe, and it, for me, did not disappoint. It was jam-packed with action from beginning to end. Starting off with our Winterfell refugees making their final stand outside the walls of Winterfell as they're waiting for the army to attack. We see the Dothraki go out with their flaming swords, aided by Melisandre, and then their flames are extinguished. The horde just waves over them. It was just a flood of undead creatures. It was almost like World War Z in a way. Just a tidal wave of bodies. Absolutely horrifying. Actually, horror was a really big theme in this episode, for my take anyway. Whether it was with the darkness, whether it was with the whites and the undead, especially that Arya scene in the library where she's tiptoeing quick as a cat around the library trying to get out of there unseen. It felt like a horror movie. Actually, to me, it felt like the scene in the first Jurassic Park where Tim and Lex are in the kitchen with the velociraptors and they're trying to escape and they're doing their best to distract and throw utensils around and make noise and things like that, which Ari was also doing. Kind of nice little nod to Jurassic Park, and maybe that was an inspiration to the showrunners there, but that was really neat. There was just also so much going on that was mind-blowing. I mean, you had just fighting and battles everywhere. You had death and destruction everywhere. You had bodies falling from the actuals, falling from the sky, whether they were falling off of ramparts or walls or ceiling or whatever it was, or whites falling off of a dragon. There's just it was just a mass of humanity and unhumanity, whatever you want to call it. By the episode end, there are just piles and piles and piles and thousands and thousands and thousands of corpses strewn all about Winterfell, outside its walls. This absolutely delivered. Now, in terms of the deaths, we may not have gotten quote-unquote big deaths, major characters, Jon and Dany, any of the Starks, Jaime, Brienne, Podrick, Gendry, all those characters made it out alive. But let's highlight some of the characters that sadly did not. Starting off, beginning of the battle, Dolorous Ed, I believe acting Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, if that's still a thing anymore. He winds up biting it. Shortly after that, a giant wight comes bursting through the gates of Winterfell, scooping up little Lyanna Mormont, crushing her in his grasp, but not before that she gets a dragonglass dagger right through his eye, taking him down. Yeah, that was a really a good for you moment. You felt, even though you felt terrible for her that she was being crushed to death by a giant undead monster, you felt good in the sense that at least she took him down with her as she went out too. So it was really true to her character and everything that we've seen. She's a tough, grizzled, tiny little badass. Speaking of badasses, we had Jorah Mormont later on in the episode defending Dany as she's getting attacked by wights after her dragon was attacked. Defending her off, staving off the attack, just long enough until, which we'll get to later, the Night King, spoiler alert, dies. So he held off as best as he could before he succumbed to his injuries. Touching scene with her, with Dany, and he, as he's dying in her arms. Theon died. He had a very fitting end, as he was a character throughout the story who was mostly cowardly. Whether he's running away, whether he's jumping off the sides of ships into the ocean, he really stood his ground as the Night King was, going after Bran in the Godswood. He was the last one left alive. He, defended against every wight that came through. A big circle of dead bodies in his wake. Until the Night King came through, he charged at him with his lance. Didn't end very well, but there's a nice back and forth a couple times throughout the episode with he and Bran. Bran letting him know, that he's home, that he's, in the place where he should be. Everything that he did to get where he is now was supposed to happen. And then he tells him he's a good man, and that really prompted Theon to, go out in heroic fashion. So again, though Theon died, like Lyanna Mormont, even though they did die, that was a good for you moment. You felt good for them at the same time. Beric Dondarrion, as he and the Hound were saving Arya, he kind of sacrifices himself, takes one for the team to let the others escape to safety. No Thoros Amir to bring him back this time. He is Dunzo. And then we also have, at the very end of the episode, Melisandre, after the battle is over. Throughout the episode, she was stating about, serving your purpose and things like that. Her purpose was served. She was the one to initially light the trenches that stopped the wights initially, prophesizing, doing all that stuff. So her purpose was served. She's seen walking out through the field, the snow fields, taking off her charm. It drops down, she starts disintegrating in the wind, falls down, dead. She served her purpose. Good job. And then, last but not least, major deaths. We have the quote-unquote big bad of the series, the Night King, killed by not Jon, not Dany, but Arya Stark herself, who Arya had just an incredible episode all around, which we'll get into, but Arya using the cat's paw Valyrian steel dagger that initially was used to try to kill Bran. Bran wound up giving that to her, I believe, last episode, and then she uses that in turn to kill the Night King and defeat the army of the undead, which was a nice, unexpected twist, especially when the Night King, caught her midair by the throat, and it sounded like he actually started crushing her throat. Maybe she was dead, but she drops it into, down through the air, catches it in the other hand, right into the heart, and I believe that was actually where the same spot where when the Night King was created, one of the children of the forest actually stabbed him with the dragonglass. I think that was the exact same spot too, so a nice little callback there if you were paying attention. So not only did the Night King go, but throughout the battle we did get so many incredible moments, whether it was with hand-to-hand combat, dragon battles, dragon fire. This was a literal visual orgasm in a sense, to put it crudely. Everything that whether you are a show only watcher, whether you've read the books, it's awesome seeing things that you've either read about or speculated about or theorized about actually ringing true. Last episode, when they were speculating on whether the Night King could be killed by Dragonfire or not, Bran says, oh, well, I don't know, nobody's ever tried. And then you get that moment where Dany's right above him, rains hell down on him, and after a couple seconds, you knew that son of a bitch wasn't dead. He kind of looks up at her and gives that little smirk, like, yeah, fuck you, so that was really cool to see. And there were just so many incredible moments, whether it's bodies falling from the sky, falling off of ramparts and walls and stuff like that. I really in particular enjoyed Jon's trek throughout the courtyard and the castle as he's making his way to the God's Wood. Just seeing all the different characters in their battles, and it was kind of left ambiguous as to did these characters make it out alive. We see them getting shoved up against walls, taken down, in dire straits. So there was nothing Jon could do because he had one goal, which was to get to Bran. So like when he sees Sam getting overtaken, when he sees Jaime and Brienne getting overtaken, or whoever it may be, he was kind of powerless to do anything about it, which was heartbreaking in a sense, because that he would have liked to help save these people, but he really had no other choice because he was in the end game now. Another point of speculation from episode 2 was, with the crypts, Sansa and the rest of the, the elderly, the women, the non-fighters, they were all going to be hiding down in the crypts away from the battle. A lot of the theorizing was going to be, are whites going to get raised from the crypts themselves, the dead Stark family members. So as we did see the Night King, as Jon is about to confront him, he starts raising all of the new dead, all of the Winterfell fighters, anything that was dead around, including the Stark ancestors buried in the crypts. They're busting through their crypts, they're busting through walls, they're taking down people, but none of the main characters like Tyrion or Sansa or Missandei or anybody like that was affected, but it was still really neat to see and added to that horror theme that we've been talking about. Again, people were complaining about not enough character moments or character building or anything like that, to which I disagree, particularly with Tyrion and Sansa. In the beginning of the episode, they have a moment where she says, it would have never worked between us, the politics between you and Dany and marrying me would have been too much to overcome, yada yada yada. And then when they are down in the crypts as they're getting attacked by the whites again, they're hiding, they're holding hands, he kisses her hand, and they kind of just stare at each other, understanding one or both of them are probably going to die. And it was just another nice moment, and it kind of comes full circle to see where they started from. She technically is, I guess, still his wife, since Ramsay died. It's a nice way to come full circle there. She even tells him out of all her husbands that he was the best one. He didn't react very well because there's not really a good option to choose from there, but it was otherwise still really neat to see. So there were definitely other great character moments, with the Hound and Beric the Hound and Arya and Melisandre. There wasn't a lot of time for character interactions amidst the chaos in the battle that was going on, but I was fine with that because the battle is what I wanted to see, and for me it absolutely delivered. It was riveting, it was heartbreaking, it was intense. It gave me everything that I wanted. I told my wife when I was done watching, I was shaking, my heart was racing. It was a big payoff for everything that I've seen with the show, things that I've read in the books and theorized about, speculated about myself. So as we're going to wrap up this review, previews for next episode, that we're focusing on King's Landing, what's going to go on with Cersei and Euron. Are they going to march north to take on their remaining forces at Winterfell? They show a quick scene of Dany. Doesn't sound like they're going to go out without a fight. It'll be also really interesting to see the continuing power struggle there between her and Sansa, if that's still going to be a thing. We know now that Jon is also a Targaryen. We really didn't get any kind of resolution with that just because there was no time for it between her and Jon. So how's that all going to unfold? Is anybody else going to learn about that fact? is there going to be power struggle for not only the the leadership in the North, but who's actually going to be the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, and how are they going to come together to defeat the Lannister army as well. Fun to speculate about, and we only have to wait a few more days. So with that, we're going to end this review here. I want to see your thoughts and comments in the YouTube comment section below in this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and also we have weekly discussion threads over on the Cinescape Facebook group. Make sure you sign up to be a part of that. Join in on the discussion thread, chat along with everybody else in there, leave your thoughts, leave your theories, where you think the series is going, your favorite things, your least favorite things, and make sure you follow us on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just by looking for the Cinescape, and subscribe to our podcast where all good podcasts are found. For Sean Harrigan, I will see you guys in a few days. Valor Morgulis.